Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Today, finally getting back on the Blazer. So I am finally getting around to replacing this incredibly cracked, completely ruined windshield. So since I'm doing that, I'm going to do the completely logical thing and replace the headliner. So the reason for replacing the headliner is that when they take the windshield out, they're going to have to get into the gasket. There's trim around that gasket that also holds the headliner in. So I figured to make it easier on the glass guy and to, avoid any potential damage, I'm going to take that trim out. Since the trim's going to be out, I'm like halfway to removing the headliner. The headliner needs to be redone. So I'm going to pull it out, clean it off, and then we are going to order some new headliner material, which you can get. It's basically just fabric with some foam backing to it, and you glue it onto the cardboard panel. I do at least have a cardboard panel in decent shape. So what we're going to do is just start pulling the trim out. And side note for the record, some older cars, the headliner is actually tucked under the windshield. So if you're taking the headliner out, you actually need the windshield out. This isn't the case on the Blazer, but it is on some other cars. So let's get to it. There's another shot of that incredibly broken windshield. It didn't used to be this bad. It was just this one. And then it's just slowly spread, and over the winter it got really bad, and I've just been dealing with it. But I finally got a hold of Glass Shop, and they've quoted me a pretty good price, or at least a price that seems reasonable. It's actually less than it would cost me to get the glass myself, just because pretty much everywhere wants to charge me $200 in shipping. Glass and liabilities. But anyway, what we got to do is basically just pull out all of these screws around there. Pretty basic. And then the most important part, or the hardest part, is take... I'm going to need a new lens. is to pull the dome light out. That lens just crumbled, and it's sad because I think that was a replacement one I bought a few years ago. But yeah, plastic, it doesn't do so well. Anyway, let's get to pulling some of this stuff out. Flip that and turn it sideways. This right here is my last attempt. This is some vinyl, but I didn't clean the fuzzies off, and it just fell down. And then fell in my face while I was driving, so, you live and you learn. I did that years ago. Are actually incredibly brittle. I might double check with LMC and see if they have replacements. Alright, so the last thing, once we got all the screws out, we're going to need to pop this guy off. So this particular one is takes a 13/16 socket, and just crack it loose and get it off. And then we can stick this back on. And if you're wondering, yes, they left the cabin primer. They didn't paint it at the factory. Sometimes they do paint it. I know in the black trucks it's black, but on this guy they just left it primer. Alright, and there is one last thing that needs to happen, and that's going to be taking the visors out. So the visors are just held on by these 3 screws. So you just take them out and they come right off. And when the visor comes out, the headliner just kind of comes down with it, because it's the last thing holding it on. I still have to do the other side, but as you can see, headliner is pretty much out. Alright, so headliner is off, using the trusty Volvo as a table. Just going to peel off the rest of the stickiness. It's actually funny because this actually still feels tacky. So Loctite contact adhesive, not the worst stuff. But anyway, this is junk, and I'm not going to make the same mistake I did last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and scrape up as much of this as humanly possible, because we want a nice non-fuzzy background, just bare cardboard. That way the stuff has something to stick to, otherwise it sticks to the crumbly bits, and the crumbly bits just disintegrate and then falls down again. So we're going to get this as clean as possible. Alright, there we go. Alright, so that's part 1 of the headliner cleaned up. Now I've just got to order some fabric, glue it on, and reinstall it. When I'm going to do that, I don't really know. You'll find out because it'll be seconds from now, but it could be as long as a month for me. Alright guys, there we go. This is actually a couple weeks later, but I got my headliner material in, basically some nice suede on some thin foam backing. I've got my nice clean headliner board, and I've got my industrial grade 3M high strength adhesive, spray adhesive. So I think it's time to give it a shot. Pretty much just got one shot at this, but basically what I'm going to do is take this, have it be nice and laid out. Then we're going to flip it over, spray both sides, let it tack up, lay it back on, smooth it out as best we can. Then we're going to take the other side, flip it up, do the same thing, lay it back over, and then we can trim out our excess. Most important thing is we don't want any wrinkles. This is about my halfway point, so we take that, fold it off. Alright, wish me luck. let that sit and get tacky, usually about 5 minutes or so. Then we're going to do the old flop. Alright, it's been some amount of time. Alright, that's stuck on. Now we just do the other side. Go till just about peeling up some of the old glue. Alright, once again, let that sit and dry. Alright, it's been a little while. Now once again, flip it over, smooth it out from the middle. So now, I'm going to let this sit and fully cure. Then we'll trim it out and put it on the truck. I may trim it a little bit big. Well, I know I'm going to trim it a little bit big. I might tuck it around, so basically what we'll do there is lift this up, spray a little bit more on, fold that edge over, but I'm going to cut just a little bit, probably about a ½ inch wider than the rest of the board. But in the meantime, I'm going to let this sit off to the side and get back to it either tomorrow or the next day. Alright, there we go, trimmed out. Now we've just got to take some more contact adhesive, spray it on here and there, and then just fold that over. Wrapped up with that, and now you can see one headliner done, ready to go. So now we just got to stick it back in the truck, so the opposite of what I showed you before. Before I actually install the headliner, I figured I'd give all my plastics and trim a nice little refresh. So fresh coat of white paint, nothing special, just use the plastic compatible Rust-Oleum stuff. I believe that's what I used before, and it worked great. I did that probably close to 10 years ago. It just got a little dirty. I went for gloss. I think I may have gone for a satin before, which kind of made it a little bit, you know, prone to have dirt stick to it. So going for gloss now, I think that's probably a little bit more correct. But we'll see. Alright, and installation being the reverse of removal, headliner is installed. It went in pretty easily without really too much fuss. The big things to focus on are A, that front corner. You definitely want to make sure that you're careful slipping it around the visor. Also, you got to put the visor in first because the trim covers it. Secondly, what you got to do is be careful about the screws there and there on this piece because they're a little tricky to get in. I almost ended up making new holes, but I actually found the originals. So that's it. Pretty basic job, pretty easy to do, just takes a little bit of time. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright, there she is. No headliner. But sometimes you get little Easter eggs. So since I used to drive this around with no headliner, I had stuck some stickers on there. So I got a little People for Bikes and a cat eye sticker, and then a random magnet.